I think it was very prudent, Tony. Thank you for having me here. At level 5 lockdown last year, we had much fewer deaths than we do have. And level 3 extended uh, severe fatalities, which was a very measured response for the simple reason that the economy of South Africa is not strong enough to absorb a further tightening of the economy. Our fiscal legroom, fiscal headspace is so constrained that any attempt at locking down the economy will have had much dire consequences. So we do applaud the president for taking matters of people's health, public health, but at the same time being sensitive to the need for supporting livelihoods through business being allowed to carry on pretty much normal.
The impact of lockdown level 5 on the economy, on South Africa's livelihood, is still being felt right now as we speak. At what point do you believe South Africa will start recovering? What timeframes could we be looking at, considering the fact that there is a vaccine that's literally just around the corner?
The economy recovered in the final quarter of last year, or basically the third quarter it recovered. And I will argue that the final quarter of last year, whose figures would be released in due course, it will show that the economy recovered. But has it recovered far enough to can sustain this country and all its challenges around unemployment, inequality, poverty? No. It will take a whole lot more time. Even pre-COVID, we were complaining that this economy is growing at a very pedestrian rate, given our challenges. So we need much more than the vaccine to get this economy back on track. We need much more than the economic recovery plan that the president presented sometime last year to get this economy going. We need us as South Africans to dig deep into our own bowels, to rediscover the essence of who we are, to reinvigorate ourselves from an entrepreneurship point of view, to get this economy to create employment opportunities, to support young entrepreneurs who want to create jobs, to export more, to support human capital development. It's a whole lot of discussion for another time. But for now, yes, we need to be single-mindedly focused on getting the vaccine roll out and to achieve what is called herd immunity, to limit the impact of this pandemic on the economy and the people.
You mentioned there, Sandile, one of government's main priorities, which is the creation of employment. The liquor trading is still banned as we speak now, and we do know that that is a sector that does employ multitudes of individuals. Your thoughts on the liquor trading still being banned under lockdown level 3 and the possible long-term impact that that will have on job stability and retention?
Well, I truly feel for the liquor industry. I truly have a lot of empathy for people who are involved in that value chain, from people who supply sorghum or malt to people who brew beer or who distill the gins and what else, brandies, to people who actually distribute and retail. I have empathy for people in the townships who are involved in taverns. But unfortunately, what we have witnessed in the last couple of months is really shameful behavior by the consumers of alcohol. And it is a fact, as the president correctly stated, that the trauma units in public hospitals in particular are overburdened by people whose behavior will have made it impossible for the public to have empathy and sympathy for them. for the industry. So it's a very terrible situation where we would love to have empathy and sympathy for the industry. Behavior of South African people when they are staring at alcohol is entirely unbecoming. We need to look at our own mirrors as South Africans. Are we to be taken seriously when we don't seriously? So it's one of those dreadful situations, but we need to return to normalcy as soon as possible because the liquor industry, employs a lot of people and it contributes enormously to the fiscus. We need every cent from that industry. We need livelihoods in that industry to be protected.
I'd like to get your opinion, Sandile, on the statement that government has made a number of times saying that there is no money. What exactly does that mean, and what does no money look like? And if also in your response to that, you could focus on government's reprioritization of budget.
When one talks about no money, sense of the word, people will say, but there's money to save SAA. What do you mean there's no money? But it does not mean that when our government makes questionable choices that involve expending resources which are limited, necessarily means there's therefore ample money for other novelty projects. The truth of the matter is that when you look at all the indications, there is no money. The amount of money that we spend on servicing interest from sovereign borrowings exceeds the money that is spent on rolling out infrastructure, which is really investment into the future of the economy. And hence, in the financial sense of the word, there is no money. Our capacity to borrow as a country, in the context of downgrade, we are a junk. We enjoy a junk status, and therefore our cost of borrowing is more severe than before we were junk. So there is indeed no money, but it doesn't mean that there can be no money to fund vaccines if there's a reprioritization of budget or reallocation of resources. There may be a need to save human capital, to save lives, which it must be a priority. We have to protect lives. It should be a shame if people die in droves because the government says there's no money to spend on vaccines. I think it should be a dreadful situation. The impression I've got is that that's not what the government is saying. The government is saying they will do their damnedest best to find the resources, but there is an aspect of social spending that is going to suffer in the process.
Well, thank you very much for your insights and your perspective this afternoon.